Hello, everyone. I think you can now hear me, right? And the AC is not making too much noise. It's a bit noisy, but I do not know how much of this the microphone can capture. Hello. Let me sit here in the right position so you can see me. How have you been? All of you, Simona, Laurent, Eretiel, Stephanie, Lufeo, hi, nice to see you here. So nice to see you guys. We have, I think, an interesting topic for today because it's something that most people do not discuss about. And unless we have a lot of experience and have been for a long time on the road trying to produce out of body experience and having them, we do not recognize much of this because usually there are some signs that we would have during the day that will indicate to us we have a higher predisposition on that evening or that afternoon. If you are going to take a nap in the afternoon, higher predisposition that you will have a conscious astral projection. And I think it's so helpful when we can see those details because, there are little changes that we can make. Go to bed a little earlier that day. Maybe we don't watch certain type of movies or series because that is going to alter too much our type of thinking or agitate us psychologically because there is a lot of impact of what we do beforehand, before starting to practice an out-of-body experience technique that will affect positively or negatively. Sometimes negatively to make it negative, really a negative out-of-body experience or not so pleasant, but sometimes negatively because that will make it more difficult for us to be able to leave the body. So let me start with this discussion with you, and you just bring your questions on these topics at the end. I just want to be triple sure that the audio is okay. Is it okay, Juliana? You said the lights are okay. Can you tell me if the audio is okay? Because otherwise we'll be in trouble, right? Later to try and fix it. All good? Yes. Takes long time for my audio to get to you, and then you will reply. Simona said yes, it means the audio is okay, right, Simona? Audio is good. Dovi, hi Dovi. Nice, nice. Thank you guys for giving me this feedback. Good. I am yet in a different place today. Becoming kind of a not so good, but in a way an expert in improvising audio lights, a place. I am now actually in my mother-in-law's house, and here I go. Hi Patricia, nice seeing you. So let me tell you what is it that I want to share with you here in terms of the signs that we will have. Because when we talk about out-of-body experience, most of the times people will talk about sensations that one can feel whilst disconnecting from the body. When we say disconnecting from the body, please allow me a parenthesis to explain that. Most people assume when they have those specific sensations, which I will list a few for you, but they assume when they have those, it means they are already detaching. And the disconnection does not mean when it starts that we are already separating. We disconnect and then we separate, we get further. But the disconnection is like a phase earlier than the separation. And I have already discussed with you in several videos here that a very common mistake is when we feel the disconnection and we try to go out because it's still, or maybe in many cases it is still too soon to detach. But today I want to discuss about what is it that starts changing in our energy field that will indicate to us some of the variables that are important for us to have or to present them in order to detach from the body are present. And which aspects would you pay attention to? I'm going to list those that I have already experienced and those that are more common to most people. And you will bring me at the end if you have any signs that are different or what else we could discuss. To start with, I made a little list here just for you and I to be able to follow together this list. And one of the things is spontaneous activation of your chakras. Can be one, can be a few. Usually it's one. One of your chakras would be a better way of writing here. For some people, they feel their frontal chakra. Some feel the crown chakra, the top of the head. But some may feel different chakra. May feel, for example, the laryngeal chakra, the throat chakra vibrating, or some different. And sometimes it's the whole energy body that is like flexible. You know, when you feel it's like going through waves. Sometimes we can sense our energy body, the whole of our energy, in a way as if it were loosened close, as if you walk and you feel something that it's like really flowing together there behind you or following you. It's light perception. It's not something that you will sense in a very tangible way unless there is an exception situation there. But it's something that if you learn to sense your own energy, you will be able to notice this. If you haven't followed with me my live talk last weekend, I discussed about some of the studies that I have over there in the book Vibrational State and Energy Resonance that explains how we have present all the time, constantly, some energy sensations, but they are present in a way that we kind of level it out. You know, when there is a noise, like a white noise in an environment, and after a while, your brain just no longer realize that noise that is there. So this happens with energy sensations. So we need to develop attention to observe details. I'm going to give you some examples. For me, the most typical one here is the coronal chakra or the crown chakra. When I sense it, usually that day, it will be easier for me to detach from my body. If I just do things right, meaning I prepare myself, I go to bed with the right state of mind, and I relax, I will most probably have an out-of-body experience. Some examples here in specific chakras. You can feel tingling, pulsing, movement in the skin. Sometimes it's like your hair, or for example, here, the top of the head, it's almost like the hair is moving. And we feel like, oh, is there a little fly here? Is there a bee here in my hair? That is, you know, when you get a little insect stuck in your hair and you have that sensation. Sometimes this is what it feels like. You can feel like spiraling or prickling or change in temperature. It's cold or it's warmer. One thing I want to emphasize here is that these sensations here, when they are a sign of the activation of the chakra, what does that mean? It means that your whole energy body is adapting, is becoming more fluid. The energies are more loosened. And we know, or we have already discussed, that the looser our energies are, the easier it is to separate, because these energies we are talking about, which are the energies of the chakras and of the energy body, which is the energetic interface, when they are loosened, it's easier to detach. So this is a sign that there's something changing. Sometimes these sensations come spontaneously, but sometimes you may have them due for example, to a presence of a spirit guide or spirit mentor. Or you may have it because you have done a velo so well that morning that it starts producing energy effects later on. Or for different reasons that may cause that. I want to emphasize the different reasons because you want at least to know that these sensations may be caused by different influences or agents on our energy body. But then we have another thing that you may sense during the day. I'm not talking after you lie down and you start disconnecting. No, those are sensations of the disconnection. I'm talking about signs that something is different on that day. So one specific condition here is energy shower or showers. What is that? It's really the sensation as if you are getting a lot of energy on you at once, but pleasant, positive. It's something that revigorates you, that makes you feel relieved. You know, when sometimes we read something that is really important or brings a very important idea to us, or we are sometimes even just relaxed, and we feel as if there is a source of energy that comes to us from outside, almost like something comes, let's suppose, through your head and then creates like a strong, pleasant shivers through your body. So it's zoom. So sometimes this is an energy shower. This sensation can happen for different reasons. One day we can discuss only the sensation and go in depth about all of which this causes or could cause this sensation. But important here is that you recognize when there are energy showers. They can be produced by, for example, spiritual mentors, that they come close to us sometimes and they transfer energy to us. They emit energy to us. And that can cause change in our energy body. Sometimes it's just to make us feel better. Sometimes it's to energize us. Sometimes to prepare us for something important. But sometimes to help us energetically in a way that makes our energy more fluid and easier for us to leave the body. But it can also be self-generated. Sometimes we are so used with moving energy that we can produce one movement that produces like a shiver. Have you ever done that? That is not difficult. And sometimes people do this and they say that will replace the vibrational state. Not necessarily because we want to go to further degrees with the vibrational state. But that is a similar situation. I mean, the shivers that we produce, similar with these energy showers that are self-generated. These energy showers, self-generated, are especially common for those who practice velo. The more velo you practice, the more you will sense them. But sometimes it's spontaneous, just comes, and it was a readjustment, redistribution of the energy through your energy body. Another thing that you want to pay attention during the day. So far, so good, right? So we discussed energy showers, we discussed activation of our chakras, and whenever you sense them, you want to say, what is it that's changing in my energy? And you will learn many different things there. Sometimes you will have spontaneous vibrational states. Not only the shivers, it's like longer, deeper in a way, more intense, and that will happen. When it happens, it shows a certain condition of your energy. Again, you may be predisposed to leave the body consciously that day. So if you have been practicing techniques, that's a day that you do not want to skip your practice. But you know, and this is a discussion that we have already done before, you cannot have expectations, you cannot be anxious. So you recognize the signs, you know some variables are there, you will take advantage. But if you create like self-pressure, if you are in a hurry or anxious or expecting the projection to happen, you end up preventing it from happening due to your super eagerness to leave the body. So you do everything normal, but you know that day is a day that you do not want to skip your practice, or that you may just lie down and relax and let it happen. Okay? But sometimes the vibrational state will be the full body, so it's complete. But sometimes it's only one chakra, or like only your hands, only, for example, the sole of your feet, or any chakra, as a matter of fact, can be one that you will sense the partial vibrational state. So if it happens, you make a note of it. All of us will have some of these sensations that are more common to us than others. So which of them are more common to you? What are your signs that informs you that you will detach from the body? And if you take advantage, you can do it consciously. So you have to recognize yours. That is very important. And then we have also the waking partial non-alignment. Let me explain what means the waking partial non-alignment. It is a situation in which we are during the day working, or in any activity, especially if we are a little bit more relaxed, watching TV, or you're just having lunch in your work break, and then you have this feeling as if you are not fully attached to your body. There are different sensations that can be a sign that this is happening. One of them is the one I mentioned in the beginning, as if your energies were loosened, like a loosened clothes, like the air were moving around you, but you know it's not air, it's not a physical sensation. But I have no way of expressing it unless I do this sort of analogy. Sometimes you are there, in the waking condition, but you feel as if your head is far away. You are observing the situation, the present situation there in the physical world, but at the same time, you are sensing yourself connected to something else, almost as if your consciousness were a little expanded. I'm not talking about when we are groggy and the lucidity is reduced. It's different. Our lucidity is amplified. We are being conscious of the physical world, but at the same time, it seems we are sensing something else and we are far away. So you have to recognize when the situation for you. I'll go back here for a moment. The waking non-alignment or partial non-alignment, if it's full non-alignment, cannot be waking, right? We will be out of the body. But the partial non-alignment can also happen in situations that are not positive. So it's not just because you have a partial non-alignment, you assume everything is okay. You will always, with any of these sensations whatsoever, always observe where you are, what's going on. Your lucidity has to increase, not reduce. Some people sometimes have situations like this, that they are, for example, driving, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm getting disconnected. That is not okay. It's not okay, and there are no good reasons that would cause that, unless there's someone influencing us, not in a good way. So you keep an eye for that, okay? Now, sometimes you have a place which predisposes you to the conscious out-of-body experience. Have you ever had this in a way? I remember that I have had so many out-of-body experiences in, relatively speaking, percentually speaking, in California, as compared to any other place in the world. So when I am in California, for whatever reason, it's easier for me to detach from the body. So, okay, I'm there. At least in the first night I arrived there, if I'm not too tired from jet lag and traveling, I will try and take advantage of the opportunity. But sometimes what we have is the presence of someone who we know. When we are close to that person, the energy of the person, in a way, affects our energy and facilitates the out-of-body experience. Is this possible? Yes. Is this common? No. Is this something that we have to pay attention to? Yes. Why? Because if we just assume, oh, when I am with that person, I detach from the body. But I detach consciously. We detach from the body every night, right? I detach consciously. But if we assume that is a condition, we may not put our attention on what are the effects of this for me. Who is there, extra physically speaking, non-physically speaking, trying to promote that condition of me detaching from the body? Because sometimes there's a person and there are other spirits gravitating around. So that is very important for us to understand. And then we can have also an increased energy fluidity that we observe during the velo technique. When you have this increased fluidity, you will know, I most probably am close to leaving the body, or will be easier for me today, tonight. And then you want to take advantage of this. And you will then observe what sort of sensations come to you when you are starting to disconnect. And those sensations are the ones that are so common to be discussed. Vibrations, feeling light, feeling heavy, feeling you are falling, feeling sleep paralysis, feeling noise inside of your head. I'm not talking about tinnitus, I'm not talking about noise in your ear. And different sort of sensations that we may feel, which means we are disconnecting. I have other videos discussing about this. You may just select here from the videos that I have there in the channel, or we may, if you want, one day get a whole talk only to discuss each of these topics. Because as you see, there are so many aspects to discuss about each of them. But I thought giving you this idea would be very productive, because it can help you recognize what are the signs that for you they happen and they are present in your everyday life. I hope it helped you and gave you some ideas. Does it? Thanks to all of you who are here with me. While I'm here, I see one slide that I had here. That is the IAC, the International Academy of Consciousness, is doing a retreat at its campus in Portugal. So you may want to get information about this, especially for those of you who are in Europe. It's so much easier. I do not know how many places we have or if we still have places, but it's worth keeping an eye. Since we are talking about out-of-body experience, I thought was the perfect moment to give you this tip. What we do at the IAC campus is to do a sort of consciousness development program in a retreat format, that we have more space, more conditions to do different energy exercise. And the consciousness development program brings so much information. And there we can do further. We can go further. That's it. So please, if you give me here the questions, please, Juliana, I suppose you have them selected there. Wonderful. Lufeu, I always have vibrational state after awaking from a lucid dream. Is it normal? And do you have a tip to get out of this moment, please? That is normal. Some people experience it very commonly, Lufeu. But I'm trying to understand why you would want to get out of this situation, because you keep having the vibration state and do not progress further. Can you show me the question again so I can make sure that I understood correctly? Because I do not know. So I always have vibration state after waking from a lucid dream. Is it normal? Yes. Does it happen to everybody? No. Does it have to happen? Absolutely not, but that is normal. What do I have to do? Do you have a tip? Sorry, guys, it's very tiny font here. Do you have a tip to get out at this moment? Get out of the body. Of course, Lufeu, makes sense your question. Of course, I understood. Get out of that sensation. Now, of course, get out of the body. Yes, I do have a tip. based on a common mistake that most people do. They have the vibrational state, so they assume the sensation will stop there. They assume that vibrational state will recede and you will, suppose, be inside of your body. And what you could do is to focus on the sensation of energy and try to aim at making that vibrational state last longer. Or just relax, relax, let it stop whenever it stops. And then you wait for this to come again. You hold your lucidity, because if you hold your lucidity at this moment, it's so much easier to get out, because most probably you were already out, even if in a lucid dream. You could be lucid dreaming slightly out, not completely, but slightly out. And at that moment, if you just stay calm, easier to detach and come back. Pay attention to one thing. Sometimes we are there and we feel going out, and then we reconnect. And then we start to getting out again, and then we reconnect again. This is common. It's almost like a series of small, sometimes partial only, disconnections or take off. And then we return. This is almost as if the astral body were warming up. And especially the energy connection, the energetic interface, warming up as well, making it more elastic, more flexible until you can detach and go further. So that is one tip. You need to be patient. Cannot be, no, I want it now, it's coming, because that will break the experience. The other thing that you can do at that moment is wait until that stops. Take your time, nothing done in a hurry at all, and then you place in your mind a target where you want to be, like a target place. You think of it, you aim at being there, and you may very well end up disconnecting to go towards that target place. So that's another tip, because depending on the day, one or the other may work faster. Don't keep jumping from one to another. Pick one and that's it. If it doesn't work, you will learn for next time. Good. Hi, Jean-Marc. It's very nice to see you here. To have some tips about how I can upgrade the awareness when I try to observe what is going on, when I try to remain conscious, when I want to observe my body going to sleep. I understand what you are talking about. So your body goes to sleep, but you want to remain awake in a way, or aware, so that you don't fall asleep, right? This is a training, a conditioning. Now, what I would ask you, Jean-Marc, is, are you the type of person that falls asleep very quickly? Some people, they are there in bed, conscious, and then all of a sudden, boom, and don't notice when they fell asleep. This is best to sleep maybe the whole night, so you black out. But for this purpose of leaving the body, it's not so ideal, because we want that our sleep condition, the sleep state, comes slowly, as if our brain waves keep reducing activity little by little, gradually. So we start noticing the change in the pattern of our thoughts, or rather in how our brain is operating. This is one thing that you want to practice. Going or taking longer to completely fall asleep. One of the techniques that are very common to do that, I have done it for some time. It's not a technique to leave the body. It's just a technique to train your brain to be conscious. Is lying down with your elbow, like leaning against the mattress or something like this. And when your elbows are supported there, you leave your hand like this. And then you can be almost falling asleep, almost, and you want that condition. You are almost there, conscious, but not really conscious. Some ideas come to your mind, but you know what's going on. You want to practice staying in that condition. This condition, when we are at the threshold of awakeness and sleepiness, sometimes is a little unsettling because we are not used to experience this for long periods of time. But that is the ideal condition to leave the body. So when you put your arm like this, when your arm fall off, you wake up. So you know, oh, I noticed that I was falling asleep for whatever, 2 minutes. And then I completely let go of my body. That is a training. You know that it's a very known story that Thomas Edison used to do that, to gain intuitions, some sort of insight about his experiments while he was between awake and asleep. What is the problem when we just fall asleep? Why is it that if he did, he would use such a technique? Because when we fall asleep, we may have insights, but then we have another out-of-body experience and dreams and dreams and dreams and sleep and wake up in the middle of the night. When we finally completely wake up, we forgot what we had in our minds, what we had experienced, and what sort of insights we have had. So that's why we would train this. I think this has to be the first step. Once you do this, then you can use specific energy techniques at that moment. But without this, it's very difficult. So you tell me here, in your case, you fell asleep very quickly. So that's it. Because what is it that you can do if your brain is conditioned, trained to let your brain waves go down, like in a peak? And that is what happens to most of us. But you practice. And you know what? I'm going to tell you as an important tip, try practicing in the afternoon instead of in the beginning of the night. Because then you won't mess with your regular sleep. Because at the beginning, it may take you a while to get adjusted. That's one factor. Second factor, in the afternoon, you will be more prone to hold this for longer. Because we are not yet so tired brain tired as we are at the end of the day. So try and doing that in the morning, for example. But sometimes in the morning we are already so alert that's hard, right? So it has to be a moment that you are starting to nap, to fall asleep, but you can hold it. And it is not difficult. If you do this practice for, let's say, 2 weeks, you will already start seeing differences. It's worth doing it. Very worth. Great. Wonderful, Jean-Marc. Let's, in our next live, you tell me how it was. Lufeu, while you are doing a long velo session, right, I always get unfocused because of my mouth and the swallow of saliva, and never get to forget my physical body. Can you help? This is a sign, Lufeu, that you are not completely relaxed. It's the same when we are trying to leave the body or doing a relaxation technique, or sometimes even trying just a simple meditation technique. And we feel like we have to swallow. Sometimes we have to blink. Sometimes our eyes keep moving. This is because the body, the nervous system, is still very active, very agitated. You need to take longer in the relaxation. And while you are doing velo, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes consciously, we tend to concentrate on the physical body to try and impulse the energy, right? To create the pulse. So we focus, we tense, sometimes we move our eyes, and all of that will create this condition in which your body is too agitated. Try to see if you can do, I wouldn't say a relaxation prior to velo. It doesn't make sense. We have to relax prior to velo. It doesn't make sense that we have to meditate prior to velo. It doesn't make sense that we have to do an energy work prior to velo, unless there is a reason. But in normal condition, it doesn't make sense, because velo is the exercise that will put you in the right condition for the meditation or for leaving the body or any other thing. So we have to see if you are tensing the body. Check if you are tensing the body, if you are altering too much the breathing rhythm, because you may, you know, you may be producing an anxiety in the body. Tell me there, Lufeo, how does it sound to you and if it's coherent for you? Because that is the only explanation that I can see, but I have already had that many times. Not during velo, actually, never during velo. But when I try to leave the body or when I try to relax, then it's awful because sometimes this happens. And what do we have to do? Be calm and wait for long enough until it recedes. Very good. Stephanie, hello, Stephanie. I speak Spanish. Muy bien. Yo necesito hacer aquí unas charlas en español, algunos momentos. Can I join the retreat if I don't speak English well? Stephanie, you can join the retreat because we will be teaching and we speak Spanish, so we know how to adjust. It's not the same thing as hearing sometimes a Native American speaker from some area that it's hard for us to understand. Nonetheless, let me tell you, we are going to have a retreat in Spanish this year. I do not know the date. I do not know details. But if you write to campus, like, let me write here, campus, oops. Oh, I changed it by mistake there. campus@iscworld.org. If you write to them here, they will be able to tell you when is the retreat in Spanish. I think you would follow well in English anyways, but you may want to do it in Spanish. Wonderful. Hi, Kim Free. Nice to see you here again. Sometimes the chills can become more powerful and cover the whole body. Could this turn into vibrational state even when awake? Yes. Sometimes it may be intense enough for us to consider it a vibrational state. What would be the difference is that when we are relaxed, sometimes the vibrational state can go to deeper levels in our energy body and even reach the astral body. But during the day, we may experience this. We may even do a quick velo and produce a release of energy in a vibrational state like that. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, it may be pretty short. So it depends on the intensity and depth, how far in the energy body these chills happen to have. But depending on it, yes, it can be considered a vibrational state. If you have it frequently, you know what I'm going to propose to you. Try and produce it more often, at will. And sometimes it becomes so easy in certain periods of life that we tend to think, yeah, now I can do it. Don't think that, because something changed in your energy, in the environment, in the context of the astral dimension around you, and you may not have it anymore. So use it. If you are producing it with ease, do it once, twice, 3 times, many times a day. You will see that will have interesting effects after some days or after many of these throughout the day. Okay? And nice. Is there any research on the vibrational state to tell us if the vibration has any health benefits? I really enjoy the vibrations. No, not a proper research for that. And I will tell you why, Nance. Because it's hard enough to meet people who can produce the vibrational state often. Doing velo, yes, it's something that we can control. And if you ask me, are there research on the health results of velo? Yes. There are, because we can tell somebody, do velo for 3 months, and then we check later. This, yes. Vibrational state comes spontaneously. Sometimes we try and produce it, and it doesn't come. Some people, they have had 4 vibrational states in their lives, very strong ones, but not enough, I guess, for us to put together a sample of people that we could study. We could find a good sample of people, but of what, 10 people? I do not know how reliable the results with such a small universe of subjects would be. So no, I do not know of any study like that. Anecdotally, yes, we can infer because we feel better. But in my opinion, Velo works better for health results than the vibrational state for this situation that I am mentioning to you. Okay. Hi, Miguel. Hard to remain conscious. Loosen it, then reawaken it. I understand what you mean. When I said about the threshold, right? When you are between awake and sleep, it's hard during the disconnection. Then, if reach vibration, very violent and painful, is there a continuation? No, right? Miguel. So let me go first half of your question, comment, and second. So hard to remain awake. Yes, but it's training, huh? It's training. Sometimes, and please, all of you guys, be prepared. Sometimes you are at the threshold between awake and asleep. A dream comes, and then you recognize, and you stop, and then you bring your awareness. Sometimes you will be too long in that condition. You don't fall asleep. You don't leave the body until you give up. Too long means 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. It's not 40 minutes, half an hour, okay? But other times you will fall asleep. This is not a problem. This happens to any lucid projector. Not a problem at all. What is important is that we keep practicing. This practice will put us with the right condition to detach from the body. And sometimes, you know what happens, Miguel? We are falling asleep, and sometimes we even fell asleep, and we are asleep for 40 minutes, and then we wake up already detaching from the body. It's almost as if we prepared ourselves, we trained ourselves to gain awareness at the moment of disconnection, even if before we were asleep. This happens a lot. I know, because when I give like a VIP training course at the IAC campus, we stay for 10 days with one student, we can observe each step of the progress. And this is a condition. And it has happened to me and so many people that I know so many times. So it's worth practicing. That's a very good tip for all of you. It's worth practicing for this condition. Okay? Very good question. Stephanie, hello. When I'm just to have an out-of-body experience, I am usually conscious. And that makes me feel heavy. And because of that, I wake up. I know what you mean. I have many partial OBEs experience, but I don't know why I wake up. There, you have to examine different conditions. This exercise that we just said about training being half awake and half asleep, that can help just to make you more used to that moment of the transition. But there are different situations that cause us to wake up. One of them, I mean, there are many, but 2 common situations. One of them is that we may have some sort of unconscious trauma. Not trauma because something negative happened, but trauma, let's say that you, when you were a child, you were prone to leave the body. You did not know what it was. And in some moments, you felt a little bit uncomfortable with that sensation of leaving the body, or you felt some sort of spiritual presence close to you that made you feel uncomfortable when you were also having the perception of disconnecting from the body. And then sometimes this happened, we were so young, let's say 3, 4, 5, 6, that we don't remember anymore the details, but the trauma remained. So you have to do consciously some exercise to break this trauma. When you do it consciously, you can then start reverting, almost like desensitizing. And the second thing that you can do to try and stop this is to train yourself in relaxing your mind. Sometimes we are so tired, stressed, that we used to have our mind always so active, that when it starts shutting down and gets to some certain point, it brings us back again. This happens when sometimes we are falling asleep. Did you ever have that, Stephanie? Not talking about out of body spirit, falling asleep. You start falling asleep, and the sensation of falling asleep wakes you up. I have had that many times. It's very annoying. And being here with my family, I saw my nephew having it. My baby nephew. No. I am the aunt of his mother. Terrible when you have a big family and you start seeing this. Oh, anyways, he is like 2, 3 years old. And he starts falling asleep and he wakes himself up. And I say, true. I start to look and say, yes, sometimes we do that. But you know, for some reason, Stephanie, I would say it's more the first possibility that I said here that happens to you. So you pay attention to it, because it may be very, very subtle, unconscious. Have you ever had a lucid disconnection from beginning to end, like feeling getting out and then remembering what happened outside? Did you ever had it, Stephanie? If you didn't, so it's more possible that it's my first hypothesis. Okay, very good. You know, guys, Simona has a question. I'm going to just break here to mention to you that in like 10 days, 1 week, you will be receiving the invitation for the course the new course that I am giving. It's not a course to help you leave the body, but it's a course to prepare your energies for a super stable energy field, yourself, your environment, knowing the obstacles that you have imposed inside of yourself, knowing the challenges that you may be experiencing that comes from outside, from other people, from relationships, from connections of people that you may have encountered in the past and even past lives, from entities present. So that is what we want to dig and cleanse and adjust and harmonize. So it's almost like a voyage inwards, adjusting, and outwards. I love the results of it. So I'm just saying, because if you are interested, I already mentioned to you, but make sure you are registered to my newsletter. That's how you will learn about it. Okay. And Simona, sorry that I interrupted when I was answering Simona. So why is it difficult, while intraphysical, to progress with energy work when it can be so beneficial for us? Is this a learning curve continuing extraphysically? Yes. When we practice it here, we learn in a way that we will also be able to practice after we die, when we no longer have a physical body, and will prompt a very important predisposition to have lucid perceptions of energy and lucid out-of-body experience in future lives. That's why, for some of us, since early age, we had this sensitivity. So definitely. But you know, there is a very mechanical reason why it's so hard for us here. Because if we think of densities of the matters that we manifest with, or densities of the energies that we manifest with. So let's say here, this physical body, yes, it's a bunch of matter that is energy, but it's in a level of density that is corresponding to what we call a physical dimension. That's the convention, right, that we have. And then we have our astral body. When we are projected, our astral body is subtle enough. Oops, I have a telephone here. I have to wait somebody to answer downstairs. Good. So then we have the astral body. And the astral body is so subtle that it can pass through the physical objects. Okay, that is easy for us to understand. That makes sense. But let us think. The energy connection, the energy that we are talking about, the energy of our chakras, the energy that we move through velo, it's an energy that is hybrid, half physical, half non-physical, and it has a very specific component characteristics of being here, sometimes closer to the physical dimension, sometimes more subtle, and that's why it creates this bridge, and that's why it's so complex and produces all of this effect of the force field, the energy field around of us. Now, therefore, when we are here inside the body and we want to sense energy and move our energy, we are trying to control a body, we are trying to control a vehicle that we use to manifest in a sort of energy that is subtler than the physical. So you sense the physical, it's here, it's tangible. Well, we sense more or less, right? Because sometimes we are not sensing all of our organs working now, we are not sensing everything, but for what we sense, we feel it's very tangible. And then the sensation of energy is so subtle that we cannot focus. It's almost as if I would tell you, you are blind, suppose you were blind, and I tell you, now you are going to concentrate on an image in front of you. What's an image? How do I concentrate on that? I'm blind, I do not have references. So we have to build in our brain the proper references, in that case, to be able to imagine an object or to bring in some sort of image to our minds. Some people, they are blind and they do see when they are in an out-of-body experience. So they can learn to do it anyways. So in a way, the big challenge is how to focus on something that is not tangible enough. All of us, we face this challenge, especially at the beginning, because with time, we start to be able to focus on this sort of intangible reality that is our energy. But we will learn through the sensations that we already have. So sometimes it's an impact in a chakra, so it's some sort of heaviness, oh goodness, sometimes it's lightness, sometimes it's that we feel the energy coming out. Whatever it is, these start giving us reference in our brain. So we need to register that reference. For the same reason, if we are projected, we are in our astral body, and we try to work with energy, it's so easy. Not necessarily easy to do what we want, but yes, definitely easy to sense, easy to notice, to see, to recognize the energy flowing as we want it, as we will it to happen. Because the astral body is subtler than this energy interface that connects the physical and the non-physical bodies. Therefore, it's subtler than the energy of our chakras. So I think with everything that I have studied, and I have done or given many courses on helping people to become more sensitive, helping people to develop clairvoyance, usually in-person courses. And I have been thinking of ways of doing it online, but we can help somebody to adjust their perception to that level. So it's a matter of focusing. I do not know if there is a better word for this, but with all different ways that I try to express is this, focusing. You know what's an excellent analogy? If you are in a party and there are so many people talking, but then there is a music playing that's back there. Some people can hear it, some people can't. And you were there, you didn't notice, but then there were some notes that you recognized. And then oh, it's playing that song. Once you hear it, you can distinguish that song in the middle of all of that noise in the party, and sometimes even another song playing but you can hear that one back there that's coming from the neighbor. Have you ever had this experience, Simone? So that is the same thing with energy. It's almost like there's so many other level of noise that we have to kind of adjust our attention to put aside the different noises and focus only on that signal that is the energy from our energy bodies, from the energetic interface. That is the key here. But I hope with this comment, it helps you adjust how you do the energy work, all of you, as a matter of fact. That is very important. I think that is what made me progress faster, when I started observing how my brain would register energy. And I insist, and that is the hardest way to teach, but that's the way I like teaching, and the way we teach at the IAC, at the Consciousness Development Program, that is helping people to recognize how they perceive energy, instead of giving formulas, telling them what's going to happen, how they are going to feel, because then we learn exactly how to focus. And this learning is what stays with us for other lives. That is amazing, the results. And believe me, guys, I have already seen people that they couldn't feel anything with energy. With some training, they became so good, that it's like amazing. But you know, after a while, they stop paying attention and they lose kind of the ability of easily focusing. But when they try, they can. But it's possible to train it. That is my message, I guess. Okay. Hi, Dovi. Very nice to see you here, Dovi. Can you please elaborate on dealing with fear tied with past traumas during childhood with OBE, as touched on with Simona? Yes, or with Stephanie, I'm sorry. Where to start with the deconditioning of fear? Dovi, I would say that we have to start by doing value. And I know you do it, Dovi. I hope you are doing it, right? You are practicing and hanging in there. And we are going to have the multidimensional force field there that will be a big boost if you want to join it. But why am I saying we have to start with value? Let me explain. There is a reason. That is not yet the deconditioning, no. But we have to start with value because sometimes we feel energetically vulnerable. There are some sort of energy components, pockets of energy, connections that we do with our past. I'm not referring necessarily to past lives. Sometimes it is, but our past, they're in our childhood, in the neighborhood, in the house where we were when we were very young. And those energy fields that create pockets, that we connect with them, they bring to us some sort of, it's almost like a remembrance, a memory that has a feeling, but so diffuse feeling that we do not know exactly how to express. This makes us feel vulnerable. So when we practice value, we will experience some sort of stability that even when we connect with any of these fields, we will be able to remain stable. So this gives us the confidence we need to work on those aspects of fear. If any sort of non-physical presence, like spirits, entity that we sensed by them, or if the type of energy that we would pick at that time in our childhood are still present, sometimes not the same, but the same pattern, the same type, then that is, I will tell you from experience, that is hard. Because it's almost really like we are so conditioned that the sensation, like jumps, the reaction jumps inside of us, and boom, when we see, we are already trying to stop the OBE. I would say that emitting energy in a situation like that, you see that this is not a deconditioning, it's preparing the environment for us to be able to decondition. Otherwise, we are trying to get rid of a trauma but there is still some lingering effect, or worse, some residue of the very condition that caused the trauma is still present. So to decondition it, we need to first remove the information, the residue of this energy that would cause the trauma. And then we will work on deconditioning our brain, ourselves. So you observe, is there any residue still present? I'd say probably yes. In this condition that we are discussing here. So you need to work with energy. Velo, but it has to be like, I will do my part. Yes, I'll never let go of this control of energy. And in the beginning, it's a bit of a mental struggle almost, because I like to say that we are like arm wrestling with whatever, we don't even know what, right? Did it ever happen to you guys? So you try to do velo and your concentration goes, and then you stop feeling the energies, and then you feel asleep. And then when you observed, oh, you fell asleep, you didn't even notice. And you start again, you don't even know where to start from. Yes, welcome aboard. Depending on the energetic condition around, on the type of, I would say, old energies that we may still have in our energy field, depending on the type of environment we are in. Sometimes it's not us, it's the environment around. These things may happen. So I like to illustrate it as an arm wrestling. So if you are arm wrestling with someone, I will here represent it, you are making a big effort here and you are not progressing. Okay, so you say, no, I'm not being able to do it. My vision of this is completely different. My vision, you are doing it and it's giving you a lot of trouble. You are having to make a lot of effort to maintain here. But have you ever thought that whatever are the forces, energy, environment, entities from past, from yours, from others, doesn't matter. Whatever are the forces that are making it hard for you, they have to apply the same force here in order to stop you. So the more you standing here, the more you remain willing it, the more you decide inside of yourself that you won't give up, the more you are winning. So being here, struggling, is winning. It is winning. But when you say, I cannot do it, I'm going to do another tech. I'm just going to meditate. I'm not saying meditation is bad, but if you're not being able to do velo, don't give up for meditation, because that is not a good measure, because in meditation you are passive. So then whatever were the forces there, they will just stay around. It's comfortable to them. So there we go. So if you say, I will just give in or relax for today, I do again tomorrow, bam, and then that's it. For that session, you didn't do it well enough. But next time, when you are doing the arm wrestling, think, all of these forces, and some of them are very conscious. For whatever reason, I can discuss here for 6 hours what would be the motives and the reasons. But to discuss this, we need to have a lot of previous information. Otherwise, it becomes just an information that is being stated and you cannot verify. But when you are here and you give up, whoever is there, they say, yeah, I can insist. He will give up. He gives up eventually. It's like when you have a friend that is used to insist with you on something, insist, until you do what she or he wants. So then when you gave up once, or you gave in, you succumbed to the pressure of their insistence, next time they do more, and they do more, and they do more, and they don't leave you in peace until you do what they want. So how are you going to change that? Think, if it were a friend, how would you change that? By saying no, 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 no. A friend, in some cases, you can just say, go out of my house and never come back. But when we are talking about an energy connection, an energy field, an energy pocket, and spiritual presence, spiritual entity, how do you put out of your house? You have to put out of your energy field. You have to create a condition in which that specific frequency of energy or type of spiritual presence no longer can approach you, but can interact, can penetrate your energy field. And this is a process. This is exactly the process that we are going to work with. I'm saying this because the deconditioning is just practicing what we practice. Practicing leaving the body, sensations will come, we will react, you will wake up, but you get used. It repeats and repeats, you get used. But without this previous work of cleansing, adjusting, settling all of that, it may be almost impossible because that stimulus is still there. And when we observe, we are already reacting to it. Okay? I hope I could explain. But if you are still interested, because Dovi had asked me in the past about the course, right, Dovi? So if you are still interested, it's really coming out now. Huh? I have already translated today's live. It's a lot of work, guys, but I am on the way. Today I was working on the emails to send and inform you. I just need to arrange dates because there are many classes that are live. So I have to adjust my agenda, my schedule. Great. One last question, perhaps? Yes. Eric. Hello, Eric. Nice seeing you here. Is it useful to practice velo at the beginning of the night? Is there a more appropriate time to induce the vibrational state or vibratory state? I have the impression that the exercise is easier in the second half of the night. Ideally, after the WBTB, I do not know what it is, waking up, don't know. Anyways, I understand what you mean there, Eric. Let me just, can you bring the question again just for a moment, please? Juliana, it's so nice to have Juliana here to help. Yes. So is it useful? I have to do, of course, we're talking about when. I love doing velo at the beginning of the night. For me, it works perfectly. Even if I don't leave the body, I don't reach the vibration state, I sleep much better, much more peacefully. It's almost like a lighter sleep. There is no, when we have a strange, stressful feeling or oppressive feeling that is there for no reason, so I can get rid of that and sleep beautifully. However, many people report that they remain too conscious and that it's hard for them to relax enough to fall asleep, and we have to fall asleep. So you have to test and see how it works for you. If you find it easier to do in the second half of the night, probably you wouldn't have any problem doing it in the beginning of the night, and I would do it. All of you who can do it in the beginning of the night, I'm talking about velo, I would recommend you do, because it prepares us beautifully for the night. But sometimes there are people that they would do 2-3 hours before going to bed, so that they have time to do velo, to have even a vibrational state. The vibrational state doesn't interfere much with the sleep. It's more a sign of the activation of the energy. But velo is something that activates the brain. And sometimes the energy cleansing is so great and comes so fast that it's secondary. How the brain was activated, we fall asleep. But for some people, they are not used to have their brains so activated, or they are not used to have their energies at that level, and they may experience it in a different way. In other words, don't worry about the vibrational state. Whenever it comes, it is okay. It's not going to interfere with your sleep or with your possibility of leaving the body or anything. It may even help leaving the body. But velo, you have to observe these details that I mentioned. When is a good moment for you? If you can do right before falling asleep, do it. And don't worry even about leaving the body. Just do it. Well done. Correctly. Right before falling asleep. And leave it be. And next night, and next night, and next night. And if possible, few times during the day, 2-3 times during the day, you will see a huge difference. Okay? So I guess that's going to be my last question, okay? Because I have to go downstairs. People waiting for me. Lucille, the night when I go to sleep, I am able to focus on the sound of the thoughts, and I awake, guys, so small font and this light against my eyes. So, and I awake because I unconsciously, you see, I half blind, but willingly, let me find this question and put it bigger for me, because if I find it, I will be able to make it bigger. Here it is. Okay, so now I can read it in the other side of the screen here. The night when I go to sleep, I am able to focus on the sound of the thoughts, and I awake because I unconsciously but willingly focus on producing the sound of my dreams. I hope you understand. So I don't understand. So, and then you have a second part here, right? So, do you have a tip to use that ability to get out or remain conscious in the night, but I have to stop to one time I never sleep? You have to stop. I think I understand what you are saying, okay, Lucille? So let me go step by step. First of all is, yes, sometimes we almost feel like we can hear, and you were talking about sounds, but sometimes we reach such level of non-alignment. It's tiny, we are still inside the body, but we may become so sensitive that it's almost as if we can hear energy. Almost as if you could hear like your hands. So I do not know if this is what you are referring to, but it's a perception of energy that some people, they have it like sounds like. You will have to understand if that is for you something, because you say, I can hear the sound of my thoughts. I can hear my dreams, but you are still here awake. So if you mean you are awake, but you are at the same time observing your dreams, that is a good thing. You only need to allow it to go further. You go, like more into this condition. But if this is an actual sound of energy, then what you do is just continue your exercise, because this will level out. And the ability that you mentioned here to remain conscious in the night, but I have to stop. You see, I feel that from what you are describing, you are still too much towards the physical side of the manifestation than the non-physical. You are not half asleep, half awake. You are not half awake and half dreaming. You are more awake, just a tiny bit dreaming. You are more with the physical body and observing the physical world and perceiving a bit the non-physical. That's the feeling that I get from this choice of words you used here. So you try to adjust that, see if you can relax more. You are going to be closer to falling asleep. And if you fall asleep, okay, tomorrow I try again. You will adjust. That's what I feel here, because when you say, I have to stop at some point, otherwise I never sleep, because you are not really the threshold. If you are the threshold, you will eventually fall asleep. And you have to let it happen. And then, I will wake up 2 hours later. It doesn't matter. You will allow it. You learn with it. Okay? So to control it, first we have to learn how it works. Your question was so confusing for me to understand. I hope I understood. And my answer was equally like taking turns. I hope all of you could follow. I guess we have to stop here, huh? Because I am at my time. We have here 1 hour, 20 minutes of talk. Perhaps one last question that you can pick from someone that I have not answered yet. Maybe, hi Mike, nice. Can you comment on how OBE can influence brain chemistry structure? Yes. New synaptic connections, for example, definitely. I would say so. We do not have enough research for me to say, yes, the out-of-body experience can do that, or the vibrational state can do that. But, Mike, and let me bring again your question here in a way that I can read. And most of the research done with OBE do not go to that point, because unfortunately, they are more focused on the person left the body or not. Can we prove out-of-body experience exists or not? And most of the research that we do at the IAC, the International Academy of Consciousness, and that I have done with the out-of-body experience was not to prove if it happens or not, but rather to understand how the brain works. But we didn't get to the point of examining brain chemistry, the structure. Why not? Because we would need a different protocol of experiment to do this. Having said that, now it's very important here, my conclusion, for a logical reason. When we observe velo can be observed, for example, with a functional MRI. So we see how the brain is working, what area is activated. Velo alone activates the brain in a way as if we were doing mathematical calculation. We use the brain, we exercise the brain. That's why velo can help us think more clearly, can help us get rid of intrusion, even because our thoughts become more stable. So in this case, if velo alone can do this, because the energies are being activated, what can we tell about a condition in which our energies get flexible enough, more than velo, we are able to establish a condition in which we go out, so our energy body is kind of elongated, so malleable, and then we have other experiences outside. So by an educated guess, I would say that it's very logical that there is a very important action on our synaptical connections. Because our synapses, they have to readjust. And then to bring a recollection, an experience, a memory of an experience that we had outside the body to this brain, it's a lot of practice. And the brain has to be working perfectly. So I would say yes, but there are no specific research for this. Not that I know of. Okay? I guess that's it, guys. Eric, WBTB, wake back to bed. I was not familiar with this abbreviation, wake back to bed. Nice. Okay, do you have a link on your studies? Perhaps you can take a look at my website. And there I have some of the things published. And, oops, nancytrivelato.org.com, not .org. So there you have some of these studies. I have a conference that I gave on this specific study of children who may have had experiences as a child and how it influences them. So it is published in my YouTube channel, Nancy Trivelato. So if you look for conferences, there are some playlists like this, you will see some of those. So there's some. And other than that, I have my book. My book it's like 500 pages, and it's a bit technical, very worth it. A lot of new information, but if somebody just wants to practice, it's a bit technical, although it goes deep into practices and all of these that we have discussed here. Velo, that's what we study there the most. Very good. Thanks, Mike. Hi, Demetrius. Nice seeing you here. Wonderful. Thank you, Mike. Dedication is topic. Thank you. I hope I see you soon in one of our future talks here. Wonderful. Nice. So nice to see names of friends and we get to know each other, right? Wonderful. Hope to meet you personally one day. Big hug to you. Enjoy your Sunday. Wherever you are, you still have whole Sunday ahead of you. And I will try and enjoy mine. Goodbye, and thank you very much for joining. Thanks a lot.